Hi, I'm Jürgen Rasmussen. Have you ever wondered what the Holocaust and what Holocaust survivors might teach us about claims of memory repression? Well, back in 1999, the science writer Mark Pendergrast interviewed three Holocaust historians, one of them being Elie Wiesel, who was a Nobel Prize winner, three Holocaust historians who had access to a database of 10,000 Holocaust survivors who researched and looked into this very issue. Do you want to guess what the result was? Not a single documented case of memory repression. Now, of course, you had other people who had amnesia due to organic illness and brain injuries and stuff like that, but not a single case of memory repression. This, I think, is kind of the litmus test. Because if repressed memories really were a thing, you should have found massive amounts among Holocaust survivors. And here's why. Back in 1990, there was an infamous murder case in the United States. And this was the first time someone was convicted of murder, perhaps the only time convicted of murder, where the only evidence was allegations of a repressed memory. This was the George Franklin case, and the main champion for the prosecution was a psychologist by the name of Leonore Tur. Now, it's been well known for decades that when people experience traumatic events, they tend to remember them way too well. These memories seem to be often very clear, very vivid, very detailed, and very realistic. That doesn't mean that they're always necessarily that accurate, but they are generally remembered all too well. What Leonore Ter presented as a theory was that, yes, that's true when it comes to single shocking traumatic events. But you have a type 2 category where people are subjected to continuous trauma over time. And there was this theory that when someone, for example, is defenseless, let's say that you're a child or a young person living in a home and you're being sexually abused as part of a family or a cult, then you're likely to repress the memories because you have multiple events over time. You also had people like Jennifer Freud who kind of created the theory that if you were kind of dependent upon your abusers, as people often are, of course, in families, then memory repression would be a more likely outcome. But if you look at the Holocaust survivors, here you had people of all ages locked up, tortured, treated in the most inhumane ways possible over long stretches of time. That should have qualified exceptionally well for Leonard Tur's type 2 memory of trauma if her theory was in fact correct. So the next time trauma activists, Hollywood, too many psychologists, unfortunately, even though the notion of repression really has no support in the memory research, the next time the trauma activists spout that the body keeps the score and can remember what the mind has forgotten, and that if we experience trauma, we repress it and split it off from consciousness. You can remember 10,000 Holocaust survivors not a single documented case of repressed memories. Hope this was useful to you. Know that I see clients from all over the spinning planets. If you're curious to see whether you and I could be a good fit, I invite you to send me an email at provocativehypnosis.com. As always, thanks for listening.